All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our virtual tour of Soho Homare with World Sake Imports. Really happy to have everyone here. Kerry, Tamura, how you doing?
I'm fine. Thank you very much, Chris Johnson, Mr. Sake Ninja. Thank you very much for joining us from all over the world. This is so exciting. I love it.
Yeah, super cool. So I see you've got kind of a little bit of a Hawaiian vibe going with your outfit tonight.
Got to keep the good vibes going, especially during this time of unprecedented historical events. But thankfully, we have the joy of sake coursing through our veins, especially today with this very, very special brewery tour. By the way, Chris Johnson, how are you, sir?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for asking. This tie
Looking
is
very sharp.
choking
Yes.
me a little bit. I don't know what this thing is that's around my neck, but hey, we'll do our best with it for now. Should be a lot of fun. For all of you, we're just waiting for a few more people to log in before we get super started. So Kerry and I will just chat for a bit. You get to listen to us ramble on about a few things. But one of the quick comments is, have you been to Soho Homare before?
You know what? I actually went in late February. It had been 8 years since I've been back to Japan, so very sad, but fortunately I was able to go, especially before the corones took over the entire world. And I was able to, I was graciously hosted by the Kono family into this really fantastic brewery.
Awesome.
Truly mind-blowing, and it's going to be so exciting. I'm so happy for everybody that's joining today.
Yeah, it's super fun. I luckily enough have been able to be invited to that wonderful brewery as well, 2 times actually, which is really cool.
Jealous.
Both very close to each other in time frame, but it was fantastic. Really, really wonderful. Very excited to have this tour and spend some time with the Kono family and as well as with Akita Toji. So it should be super exciting. I think as we're filling up, if we can step away from the PowerPoint for a second, we're gonna go through a few things that'll happen just to keep everybody aware. If I can get your attention and have everyone do me a favor, click on the chat, which is down on the bottom of your screen. Open that up, open that window, and then go to everyone. So when you can see the comments of other people, and then you can also participate by saying hello and sharing your thoughts. We would like you to use the chat to ask questions. So if you have questions for Akita Toji or the Kono family about Sohomare, we want you to put them there. If you have any kind of intense questions that are very particular and difficult, we ask you to put those into the chat a little bit later, after we'd finished the tour and we're closer to the tasting, where we'll be able to interact with the Soho Homare team a little bit easier. And then I have one other thing. We do request that everyone put themselves on mute, and then also turn off your camera so we can focus on the special guests so they become the main part of the screen. And then one other thing, as you're doing that, if you go on anybody's just name, there's 3 dots. If you click on those 3 dots, underneath there's a little line that says hide non-video participants. If you click on hide non-video participants, that will allow just the main screens to be up, and you'll be able to see the tour better and interact with the Kono-san when we're doing the tasting easier. So if you could please, again, hit hide non-video participants, that would be wonderful. And again, please turn off your videos so that we can focus on the hosts and this beautiful man, Kerry Tamura, and then the Kono family when we get to them.
Hi. And for those of you who are joining, it is not necessary to have sake. It is just simply something to enhance the experience. But we are happy that you're with us nonetheless. But we will be, after the tour, we'll be talking a little bit more into detail about the 3 sake that Soho Homare makes. And also we have we'll do a quick introduction of our guests just to go down how this evening is going to unravel. And also at the end, after the brewery tour and after the, well, first after the introductions and the brewery tour, we'll be having a lovely time for Q&A from the basic to the complex. Throw it at us. We have great minds involved in this brewery tour today, so we will be sure to answer all of your questions.
All right, so just one quick question before we really get deep into it too far. I'm going to launch a little poll that we'd love for you to all participate in. So just give us a little opportunity to answer that. While the poll is happening, I'm just going to let you know who I am. I am Chris Johnson. I work as the National Sales Manager for World Sake Imports. I get to travel to all the smaller states, you know, not the big ones like New York and California, and I help share that sake love, which is awesome. I am lucky enough to have been involved with this awesome beverage for over 20 years. I am a sake samurai, and I run around with the title The Sake Ninja just for fun. So that's a little bit about me. And Kerry, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you very much, everybody. My name is Kerry Tamura, also known as Kampai Kerry on the Instagram. Originally from Chicago, I started a sake lounge called Murasaki Sake Lounge, and it's still in operation today, ran by, nonetheless, Jun Takanarita. But moved out to LA, been out here for about 9 years, and have been with World Sake ever since. And it's been a wonderful experience, and very thankful for World Sake and meeting wonderful people such as Mr. Chris Johnson and Kono-san and the like.
Fantastic. And we have one more host that's a little bit behind the scenes. His name is Craig Tabandera. He will be running the chat, helping flow your questions to us. Craig, you can throw that introduction on the chat, or if you want to say hello from the background, feel free. I think he's just going to throw it in the chat. There it is. So he'll be answering your questions and pushing it up to us. As we're here, the poll's been 86% voted. So I'm going to end that poll for now, and we'll see the results. And I'm going to share those so we can go over it with everybody. Look at that, Kerry.
Yeah, more than half Kimoto. Wow, so advanced. Yeah, very sophisticated group. I love this.
We love it. We love it. And then
very good.
That 22% are excited to try it tonight for the first time. So that's going to be a fun part of our event.
Yeah. You know, I would have to say that I don't even know if half of the Japanese population have even tried Kimoto style or even know what that is. So this is really exciting. I hope the Q&As will be not as painful, but we shall see.
Listen, it's always good to have good questions from the sake fans out there, and we appreciate all of you for being a part of this.
Yes.
So we're going to Soho Homare today. Where exactly is that, Kerry? And if we could start sharing the screen, that would be great.
Thank you for asking, Mr. Chris Johnson. So, Tochigi, Soho Homare is located in the Tochigi prefecture. Now, interesting, prefecture is kind of like a county state in a way. And there are 47 of them in Japan, and only 1 of 8 are landlocked, which is Tochigi. So if you would look at the overall geography of Japan, it kind of cups the belly of China, where you get all this cold air flowing into Japan. So all this cold air essentially sits on top of the mountain ranges in Japan. So you'll have a lot of snow accumulation on what is known as Nantai Mountain, which is one of the 3 tallest mountains highest mountains in Tochigi. So then from Nantai Mountain, all this melted snow flows into what is known as Lake Chuzenji, which it's actually, if not the biggest lake in Tochigi. From this lake, then you have Kegon Falls, and then that basically flows into the Kinugawa River. Kinugawa River is the main river of Tochigi, and it cups Utsunomiya. So Utsunomiya is the capital of Tochigi. And so if you were to go from Tokyo to Utsunomiya by bullet train, which is possible, probably within an hour, Then you take a car going east about 50 minutes to a district of Haga into the city of なんだっけごめんなさい Ichikai City. And from Ichikai City, that is where the Soho Homare Brewery is located. Some fun facts about Tochigi in general. It is really what is known as like a majestic land of Japan. There is a national park called Nikko, which the emperor, the royal family has their villa. Tochigi is also known for their gyoza, or Utsunomiya is known for their gyoza. So when you come out of Utsunomiya Station, there's loads of gyoza restaurants, and you will see lines. In addition to that, my mother is from Tochigi, from a town called Sano, which is known for its ramen, even though I never had a delicious ramen there, but perhaps I was misguided by my grandparents. I don't know. But other than that, 1/5 of Tochigi is designated as natural park. So it's a really beautiful part of Japan. So much mountains, lakes, the waterfalls, the list goes on. It's a truly magical place.
Fantastic, thanks.
Yes.
So if we can decide, I think it's time that we talk a little bit about who we're going to see. And that exciting person is, one of them is Jun Kono, who is the 5th generation Kuramoto of this wonderful brewery, Sohomare. Has studied in various manners beyond the world of sake, and is a fantastic supporter of this beverage, and he has a wonderful approach and the way he looks at that, and we're going to talk to him about it. And then our other special guest tonight is Akita Toji, who is the master brewer of this fine brewery. So I would love to ask both Jun and Akita Toji to share their videos and come on and introduce themselves.
Irashai.
Irashai. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So happy to have you here with us.
Yes.
Me too.
よろしくお願いいたします。
よろしくお願いします。
よろしくお願いします。
So honored to be here with you. And a little bit introduction of myself. My name is Jun. First name is Jun. The last name is Kono. And I'm the 5th generation of Soho Homare Sake Brewery. I was born in 1961. And when people look at me, they always said to me that I look young. The secret is to drink sake. Thank you.
Awesome. I drink a lot of sake, but no one calls me young. I don't know what.
It's that Western diet.
Must
That's
be
the issue.
Yeah, that must be it.
Okay, and I will introduce you Mr. Toru Akita. He is the toji at Soho Homare Sake Brewery, and he joined at the Soho Homare in the year of 2000, and he became toji. Toji is the master brewer in 2014. So this year will be his 7th year of toji at Soho Homare Sake Brewery. So, Akita-san.
My name is Toru Akita. I'm 50 years old. Please enjoy tonight. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for joining us all the way from Japan to participate in this. We're excited to see the brewery and taste. But again, before we get to that uniqueness and talking about the blending and the Kimoto styles and all the things that make your brewery so unique, is it a chance that we could step outside and see the brewery?
Yes, my son will introduce you to the sake brewery tour.
Oh, fantastic.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Michiro Kono, 6th generation of Soho Homare Sake Brewery. Today I would like to share about my brewery. So firstly, this is Firstly, this is our gate. This is one of the most oldest structure of my brewery.
It's all right.
Our foundation in 1872. And going through the gate,
Wow, such a beautiful modern building on the right.
Super modern. Lovely story behind the construction as well.
Yep. This is the tasting room, which is my father is here.
All right, well, it's still summer, but it gets cold.
Also, the kura is over there. Sorry, sir.
Nope, that's beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you. Next, I'm going to inside the kura, so please wait a moment.
Right,
something about
he goes into the brewery. As you could see, that was a very beautiful, somewhat modern style building to the right, and then before that was what looked like a very old building, which I think was the original kura where we would store things, and that's where the taste room is now, where we'll catch up with Jun and Akita Toji after the tour. He's just walking into the brewery to get to the next spot where he can film for us. How long ago did you convert the kura to a tasting room?
Well, this is the Oya stone kura, but it was damaged by the earthquake of 2011. So we renewed and to become a tasting room. The inside, the tasting room and the office building was designed by Mr. Hidetoshi Ono, who used to be a professor at the University of Tokyo.
Hi.
It looks like Kerry Michio has joined us back. So where are you now?
Yep. Yeah, I'm in the tank room. There are 24 tanks in this room, and these are 8,000 liters tanks.
Oh, wow, that's a good size.
Yep.
Impeccably clean as well. As
this is the fermentation room. Main fermentation is going on over there.
Wow.
Now, with Kimoto style, is there any particular focus to brewing compared to other styles?
Well, for the main fermentation, it's almost the same, but the Kimoto style is the name of the method of yeast starter. So to make yeast starter is quite different from the modern method called sokujo.
Cool. We'll get into that. We promise to dig deeper into that Kimoto conversation when we get to the tasting section and we taste that wonderful.
Yep, nice. Yep. Okay, next I'm going to the storage room. So please wait a moment again.
Okay, he's gonna hide from us for a moment. So while he does that, what's the next thing? So he's going to the storage room. Now, your storage room is a little bit different than, I guess, probably other places because of your brewing style. What is unique there? Do you age things differently?
Yes. So we stock the sake by the tanks and also the magnum bottles, 1.8 liters. So we have many 1.8 liter bottles as a stock.
Awesome.
And what have you found is the because, there we are.
Oh.
Never mind.
Yep, these are 1.8 liters bottles in this room. The room temperature is about 11 to 13 degrees Celsius. And each batch in different palette.
I see, because they, to me, Kerry, they all look the same. I think I would have trouble blending. I don't know that I have any trouble drinking, but I think the palettes are all similar looking, and the bottles look pretty similar. So be careful how much we get excited about there.
Indeed, especially when you're testing the product. Now, I do see other breweries use tobing, the much larger glass vessels. But what is the advantage of using the ishobing as opposed to the tobing?
Well, tobing is not for storage; it's for dropping.
I see.
Just after the filtration of the main mash. When we store the sake, mostly we store it in a bottle, not in the tobing.
Got it. Okay, understood. Thank you.
And the store in the ishobin is the best thing is to, when we pasteurize it, we can cool it earlier, easier than in a big bottles than the big tanks.
Understood.
And the air is very, very few, so oxidization is very, very small.
Because they contain less exposure to air in a small.
Yeah, yes.
Fantastic. That's super cool. It's we'll learn a little bit more about how they utilize this aging process and the different palettes with different brews when we get to the tasting of the sake, which will be super cool. Michihiro, do you have anything else to share with us from your location in the aging room?
No. Can I going back to the tasting room?
Yes, you can.
Yep.
All right.
I'm coming back.
We'll see you later.
Very lovely.
So, Kerry, what's next?
What is next? So, let's taste some sake. Okay, we are going to first start tasting the Sohomare Indigo. Mada.
There's a PowerPoint from Toji Kono-san.
Oh, I am just.
He wants to drink.
I know. Why can't I just start drinking now? Okay, PowerPoint it is.
I mean, everyone, including Kerry, if you're thirsty, you don't have to wait till we actually get to the kanpai to enjoy the sake that you may have with you. So feel free to pour yourself a glass. Like we used to call it in Japan, you can, before the kanpai, you can do a little renshu, which would be to practice. So feel free to have a little sake while we're chatting and touring, and we'll do an official drink together as we get closer to the tasting section. So Kono-san, tell us a little bit about the history of sake in Tochigi and your family, and of course that sake isn't only just about drinking.
Okay. Well, the sake is not just for drinking. Well, historically, sake was drunk at the very ceremonial occasions, not for daily life. Until maybe 13th century, sake is not popular, but sake is drunk at the very, very typical occasions. Nowadays, it's we drink sake, for example, at the groundbreaking ceremony before building a new house, or we gave sake to the shrines, or we do drink at the wedding ceremony. We make well, sometimes we use taruzake for the wedding ceremony. Okay, so next page, please. Well, this is about the history of sake. Well, as a Chinese record in a Chinese historical book called Gisho Toiden Wajin no Sho, it says that the Japanese drink sake in 3rd century. Then in the 10th century, the book called Engishiku, it was written that the brewing process of making sake in a imperial court. Then in the 14th century, sake commercialized, and there are many kuras, for example, in Kyoto, and spread over all Japan. And it is, well, it said that in the 16th century, Japanese sake brewers did pasteurization after filtration. So raw sake pasteurized to store it. Well, in Japan, so pasteurization was done about 300 years before Pasteur founded the mechanism. And well, another thing is that in Japan, in 1911, the first annual Japan Sake competition was held. So, well, that competition is still going on over 100 years. So this is a little bit thing about the history of sake. So the next, yes. Well, this is the river in Tochigi Prefecture. We have very good waters. So water is very important for sake making. So in Tochigi, we have good waters, good river waters. And Sohomare, we use Kinugawa river system water. We have our own well at the brewery. In the next page, please. Well, this is about the Tochigi products. Well, strawberries in Tochigi is the #1 production in Japan. And we have good bamboo shoots and also asparagus. And we do also have very good tomatoes. And Tochigi Prefecture, we don't have any seas, but we have good waters. So sweet fish, we call it ayu in Japanese, is very popular in Japan. So in Tochigi. So we have good sweet fish. That means good water. Next page. Well, this is about my family. We were here in Tochigi since 1872. And originally, we are from Ehime Prefecture, that is in the western part of Japan, until 16th century, until 1600. In around 1600, there are many civil wars. And our family was defeated of the civil wars. So we ran away to Gifu Prefecture to hide ourselves. It's interesting at those times, we cannot call ourselves Kono, because if we call ourselves Kono, we will be killed. So we call ourselves the family name of the wife, called Takemura. Then there came a very peaceful era of Edo. So we came back, we went to Shiga Prefecture. Shiga Prefecture is next to Kyoto, to begin to make vinegar and miso. Then in 1872, we came to Tochigi, and I am the 5th generation. This is about the short history. And on your right-hand side, you can see very old pictures. On the top of the left, the very small lady, it's a baby, it's a child. She is my grandmother. And on the bottom, you can see my father sitting in the front. So this is about the history. Thank you. So
Beautiful.
Next page.
We can stop sharing the screen. And I think,
Thank you.
Kerry, I don't know about you and everybody that's here, I think it's time to grab your glass, grab your sake. Let's get ready to do some drinking. For everyone, we are recording this to be able to share with people down the road. So if you don't want your image shown, please do not turn your camera back on. But at this point, feel free to turn on your camera so that we can do a big kanpai with everyone. If you go up to the top and you hit the gallery view, you'll be able to see all the wonderful people who have joined us tonight from all over the place. Thanks, everybody. Good to see your faces. That's awesome. Hi. Hello. Hello.
Irashai.
Irashai. All right. So one of the best ways to start an event, and Kono-san, I hope everybody's filled their glass. I have a glass full. I'm ready for this. We all have a little glass of sake. I know it's a little bit early over there in Japan, but it's okay. We're gonna say a quick kanpai to all. Are we ready?
Wait.
I'm ready.
You're ready.
Wait, which one?
Anyone?
Which one are we supposed to start with?
We're gonna start with Indigo if you have them all.
Yes, Indigo.
Hey, Kerry, my video is stuck.
We are.
The host has to enable it.
I need to. Because
Junmai.
So everybody's ready.
Oh, Junmai.
Everyone, thanks for joining us. Kanpai!
Kanpai!
Hi.
Kampai.
On the video, see that? It's
More than this, there's people.
no, but you see that it's the start video is you gotta have the video.
Don't forget, because we're going to talk a little bit about the sakes, that if you could keep yourself muted, because it's going to pick up everyone talking if too many people are unmuted. But Kerry, how about you tell us a little bit about that first sake, and if we could share that sake on screen, that would be great.
Absolutely. Wow, so delicious. Okay, so this is the Junmai Ginjo from Soho Homare, aka Indigo. Now, this is a particular sake that uses Yamada Nishiki A-level rice. Essentially, there are many differing levels of quality within Yamada Nishiki rice, which is the most popular and most highly used sake varietal for daiginjos. But this uses A classification of Yamada Nishiki.
Indigo is 500万石。
あ、500万石そうでした。申し訳ございません。It's 500万石。Well, I will. Okay, so the other facts that I have for you is that
Drag very fast. Drag very fast.
So the other facts I have for you is that it is 45% polished off, so 55% remaining for a Junmai Ginjo that is really, really a high standard of polishing for the rice. The yeast that it uses is actually a combination, which is number 9, number 14, and also a house yeast, ambient yeast. And alcohol content, 15%, really, really lovely, smooth, delicately textured, but it's just creaminess all around. A lovely, clean expression of Soho Homare water, but also, or Tochigi water, but also Soho Homare craftsmanship. Fantastic.
All right, let's stop sharing and bring Kono-san Akitoja back up for this one. This is just a beautiful sake, in my opinion. You get that richness from the Gohyakumankoku and that sweetness, little touch of fruit, nice soft banana notes on the nose, but just really beautifully balanced. I see some people eating. I wish I was snacking on food with this right now. But wow, really wonderful. Kono-san, and Akitoji, any notes on this sake for us?
Okay, first of all, I will explain you about the technical things. This is made from 500万石 sake rice, and 500万石 sake rice from very neighborhood of the brewery. We know all the farmers who make the 500万石. They are within 5 miles from the brewery. So we know the farmers, we know the rice, and very, very local brewed sake. So this is Indigo Junmai Ginjo from 500万石 sake rice. And we blend 3 different types, as Kerry-san explained. This is, we use yeast number 1401, yeast number 9, and also a house yeast. House yeast add a little bit aromas, but mostly we use 1401. 1401 is a very soft and very smooth aromas. So this is very light, and this is good for maybe a white fish, white raw fish, or vegetables, some kind of a bitter vegetables. And also, well, some people, my friend in England said to me that this is very good with raw oysters. So I will ask Brewmaster to comment what is difficulty to make 500万石sake rice and 500万石 sake. Oh, he will explain in Japanese, and or maybe Chris Johnson-san, you will translate.
Please translate. 500万石はお酒のタイプとしては少し硬いタイプ、硬いお酒になりがちな感じがするんですけども、それをもう少し柔らかい味にするように甘みを出して作ってるっていうのがこのお酒の作りでちょっと変えているところです。で酵母も何種類か使ってますけども、それぞれ特徴が出るように作れてるんではないかなというふうに思ってます。いかがでしょうか。
That sounds great to me. You know, Gohyaku Mankoku is generally a harder rice, and he was saying that you get a kind of a harder style sake. One of the things that they're driving towards at Sohomare and in this production is to give a softer and bring out a little bit of that umami and amami, which would be sweetness. So the combination of that touch of sweetness coming out of that sake, as well as that depth of flavor that they're very well known for at Sohomare, is kind of the driving point of this sake, utilizing that Gohyaku Mankoku. Again, a fantastic sake for food all across the board. Oysters, I think it is a sake that my saliva is going now that I've had a couple sips, and I'm like, man, do you think they'll notice if I run to the kitchen? But I promise I'll stay here. I won't run away quite yet for food, but wow, yeah, super fantastic.
Yes.
500万石 sake rice is harder compared to a Yamada Nishiki sake rice. And when we make sake, we first of all we steam the sake rice, and after the steaming, when we compare the 500万石 steamed rice and the Yamada Nishiki steamed rice, we can see the difference. We can tell the difference. Yamada Nishiki sake rice is rubber-like, and 500万石 sake rice is a bit harder, so it's very difficult to resolve in the main fermentation mash compared to the Yamada Nishiki sake rice. So when we steam the sake rice, we are going to put more waters inside. That means more water contains compared to the Yamada Nishiki steamed rice. If we steam it harder, the sake tends to be very hard and very light.
Fantastic. For those of you who brought a second sake, we are going to get ready to move on to that second one to taste. Feel free, if you only picked up one, that's awesome. You can enjoy that sake throughout. We're just going to talk about the other ones. You can learn more about the wonderful products that this brewery makes. So the second sake is going to be Sohomare Karakuchi Premium Dry Junmai. This is made out of Yamada Nishiki Tokue, or top quality rice from Yokawa and Tojo in Hyogo Prefecture, kind of the most famous of all areas for producing this rice. And those two towns are the top two areas that can find that rice and get that rice to make sake out of. So it is the top of the pop in the sense of those areas for creating it. This has been milled to 60%. and then it's about 15% alcohol. Okay, let's go back to us. So again, this is the sake, and we're ready to go. Ready to go, I said, but there's still sake in my glass. I should probably take care of that. All right, so Karakuchi. I know we say premium dry just now. One of the great things and kind of a learning lesson that I had when I was visiting Japan and when I started getting the sake was, it was always amakuchi ka. So sweet or dry was kind of the only descriptions that I was given early on in my sipping of sake back when I was a wee 23-year-old with the prefecture. And so what's wonderful is this idea or this concept of a premium dry sake, a sake that's been built to have that dry characteristics, really be deep and wonderful, rich. If you guys want to aerate it and smell it, sip it, full air over it. You know, I just
love
started
the.
wearing glasses. I don't
Should we
know
go to the gym?
any of you else have this problem, but I just started wearing glasses, and now when I go to smell and sip, I keep hitting the glass into my glasses. How do you get used to that? I don't know, like, someone help me.
Just for love of sake. You get used.
Man, so clean. To me, I think this is an example of a sake where you actually can really taste and understand the Yamada Nishiki here. That pristine, kind of pure flavor profile that Yamanishiki drives. It was always talked about as the Daiginjo super rice because of its size, but I think here in this sake, it just shows how beautifully clean that sake can be when you create it. Craig, do you have any thoughts on this sake?
Actually, we've got some thoughts from the panel. So if Kono-san, really quick, when you use Goyaku Mangoku rice, is there a specific taste profile that you're expecting, say, versus Yamada Nishiki?
Goyaku mango sake rice tastes like, in Japanese, we can say, Kande Karakuchi tends to be. Light and dry sake. And Yamada Nishiki has more deepness or more structures, more softness and more roundness character. So that is the hardness of the Goyaku mango sake rice tends to be lighter, and a very soft and smooth character from Yamada Nishiki sake rice.
Really good, thank you. And then to take that a step further, another curiosity about Goyaku Mangoku rice is, if every brewery to use it, would it stay the same, or when it's in the brewing process, in the specific brewery, like Soho Homare, will it change? Can Soho Homare's brewing, Akita Toji, change the profile of the flavors coming out of that rice through his brewing?
Hello?
Yes. Flavors or aromas is coming from not only from the variety of rice, but also what is more important is what yeast you use, what variety of yeast you use. So if you use a certain variety of yeast produce aromas. So we cannot say that the character of the rice itself is 100% of the character of the sake, but many points reflect the character of the sake.
Very good, arigato. And CJ, getting back to your point or your question earlier on this one, what I love is that in this sake, we're essentially blending together, a drier, lighter style of sake with a richness of a pure rice sake, which creates this just really cool, enigmatic brew that I think is very standalone and really cool to enjoy.
Yeah, it's got amazing length, like really amazing length. Like it's sitting on the palate, and although, like we said, there's that richness and that full flavor from the Yamada Nishiki, it's still concise that you get from that dry style. But man, that umami on the backbone is just fantastic. You were talking about oysters earlier. I would hammer this with East Coast oysters from the U.S. all day long. That beautiful umami backing up that richness of a Maine or Massachusetts area oyster would be fantastic. All right, any other thoughts on this, or shall we move into the incredible Kimoto style that Soho Homare is so well known for?
Okay, before moving to the Kimoto sake, I will explain you about more about why premium dry sake is this.
Yeah, please.
The premium means what is premium is that this sake is a Junmai sake, but is made from Yamada Nishiki sake rice. Mostly, the sake brewers in Japan use Yamada Nishiki sake rice for their most expensive sake. But we do use Yamada Nishiki sake rice for Junmai sake, so it became the premium dry sake. And the dryness, why the sake, what is the difference between the dry and sweet when you taste it? It depends on 2 points. One is the acidity, and the second is the contents of the glucose inside the sake. Well, about 10 or 20 years ago, sometimes sake meter is important, and when the sake meter is high, people think that the sake is dry, but even the sake meter is 5, you can see, you can taste sometimes what it is sweet, or sometimes it is dry. But what is most important for us is that to know the acidity and also to control the contents of the glucose. So this sake, a premium dry sake, is made from Yamada Nishiki sake rice. The acidity is 1.8 in Japanese style, and the glucose content is like 1.2%. So this is dry, but it's not too dry or spicy dry. It is very, very elegantly dry sake. Thank you.
Yeah, wow.
CJ, a quick request is coming in, and maybe this is more for Dave, but is it possible to put up the PowerPoint slide for Karakuchi just one more time, please?
Yeah, that would be a Dave. Dave, if we could share that screen.
There we are. Thank you.
And the region is from Hyogo Prefecture, Yamada Nishiki. And inside Hyogo Prefecture, this Yamada Nishiki is from Yokawa and Tojo region. Well, inside Hyogo Prefecture, the Yamada Nishiki rice field is divided into 3 groups, A, B, C. And Soho Homare use only the Yamada Nishiki from A region. And inside A region, Yokawa is the #1, and the Tojo is the second best. And we use Yokawa and Tojo Yamada Nishiki from Hyogo Prefecture. So this is very, very difficult to get it's very difficult to get the Yamada Nishiki sake rice from Yokawa and Tojo. And this is from that sake rice. And this is not a super premium like Junmai Ginjo, but it is Junmai sake made from Yamada Nishiki. So it's good. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, Dave, instead of closing it, just go to the next sake. And Craig, will you talk about this one?
Love to. So I've got my favorite right here, the Tokubetsu Kimoto, the heart and soul. And I think it's just an incredible blend. And I could talk about this probably for about the next hour, but I'm not going to. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Kono-san and Akita-san to discuss it, just through kind of asking some basic questions. So Kono-san, Tokubetsu, we know that means sort of a special designation sake, and we've talked about Kimoto tonight, but we haven't talked about the term Tokubetsu. Could you explain what makes this a special Kimoto, a special brew of Kimoto sake?
Okay. Well, when we say Tokubetsu in Japanese, well, it's special. Tokubetsu means special in English, but the word Tokubetsu in Japanese sake law, we have restrictions. To call it Tokubetsu, we have to, the sake should be the polishing ratio under 60, or you should mention why it is tokubetsu, why it is special. The tokubetsu Kimoto is special with two reasons. One is polishing ratio of 60, so we can call it tokubetsu. And the next thing is the rice variety is Yamada Nishiki. So we use Yamada Nishiki, so this is very special, so we call it tokubetsu. And this is made from Kimoto style. And Kimoto, maybe some of you know it, but the Kimoto is the very, very old way of making yeast starter. We make the yeast starter before the main fermentation. The method of Kimoto is from like 1700. So this is about tokubetsu. Thank you.
So Greg, now that you got him doing both tokubetsu and Kimoto, if we go to the next slide, there's a little bit more information on the Kimoto process.
Well, this is about the Kimoto fermentation of a yeast starter. Well, you can see on the top, traditional method Kimoto, and in the bottom you can compare the modern method Sokujo. So Kimoto method takes 28 days, and modern method called Sokujo in 14 days. The difference is to make Kimoto, we use very natural things. Like we get the lactic acid bacteria from the brewer's environment. To make yeast starter, what is most important is to get enough acidity in order to prevent the bacteria. And the Kimoto style is to get the lactic acid from the bacteria. But the modern method Sokujo, we add lactic acid on the first day. So that is the main difference. And Kimoto method takes labors, and also we should pay more attention to make it. We say Sokujo is a modern method, but Sokujo method was founded in 1910, about 100 years ago. And Kimoto method is from more than 300 years ago. So Kimoto is the older than the Sokujo method. And when we make Kimoto sake, the atmosphere is different, and the atmosphere of yeast growing is different. So after 28 days, the character of the yeast will be different compared to the character of the Sokujo yeast. So that reflects the character of the sake finally filtered after the main fermentation.
Great.
This is about the Kimoto sake.
Very nice. Arigatou gozaimasu. One last thing. So we've talked about 3 different yeasts. You know what we haven't talked about is the blending of the aging of the sake. And especially now that we're talking about tokubetsu or special designation sake, I think that we need to just spend, just a brief amount of time blending. We take sakes you've taken the time to age them for 1 year, 2 years, and 3 years, and then put it all together. Do we change the blending ratio over the years? Is it up to Akita Toji? Is this part of the Shimotsuke sort of Toji Guild's kind of idea on how sake, or is this just Sohomare's, we want to do this with our sake?
Well, that is what I want to do.
Very
and
good.
I will ask Akita Toji what is the difficult thing, what to make a Kimoto sake. Okay.
Very good.
キモトを作るのに難しいこととか、キモト 作るためにやらなければいけないことを説明してください。And Chris Johnson will translate, please.
お願いします。さっきの表グラフでもグラフというか、絵でもあったように測定の場合は最初に乳酸が入ることで培地が非常に安全な状態になるんですね。それでそこに酵母があるんで安全に酵母が増えていけるんですけど、木本の場合は最初に乳酸っていう酸がない状態なものですから雑菌が非常に繁殖しやすい状態なんですね。でそれを雑菌を繁殖させずにさっきの絵にはなかったですけど硝酸還元菌っていう菌が出てその後乳酸菌が出てっていうふうにして乳酸菌を蓄えてそこに酵母を添加するっていう流れですので、とにかく培地がきれいであること、培地が衛生的であることっていうのが一番大事だと思ってます。ですのでそれに関わる作業ではやっぱり手であるとか道具であるとかそういったものの清潔さを常に保ちながら作業しなきゃいけないっていうことがまず一番大事ですね。あとは木本の場合は非常に7度ぐらいという非常に低い温度から始めるんですけどもそれもやっぱりその衛生状態をうまく持っていくためなんですが、これをあんまり早く温度を上げすぎてしまうと、雑菌が繁殖してしまうのでそれを抑えるために低い温度を保ちつつ酵母の乳酸菌の育ち方を見ながら温度を上げていくっていうその温度管理の難しさっていうのもあるかなと思います。いかがでしょうか。
So complicated.
おーっといきましたんですけど。
That's where I drink more.
Pretty long little things. So I will do my best to wrap that around. Kerry, Tamura, feel free to jump in when you want. So the beginning component of that is that Sokojo is a safe method, right? When we start our Sokojo, we give the yeast a very safe place to go because we introduce the lactic acid, which purifies and prevents bacteria from growing. When we do it with the Kimoto style, we don't have that luxury. So we have to be very, very worried about the bacteria that can get in and cause problems. So we're building various acidities into the beginning of that formation, lactic acid being the one that kind of truly purifies the mash so that the yeast, again, the most important part of the shubo to some extent is the yeast, because without good yeast, we can't necessarily create great sake. So within that, we have to be very careful in that process. So we're worried about temperature. We have to start at a lower temperature to control it. Higher temperature bacteria are more active. So in order to control those bacteria and keep it a safe place to eventually multiply that yeast, we need to keep the temperature in control, which is hard to do because you're trying to keep the lactobacilli that's in the atmosphere alive. So there's you're trying to keep one bacteria going while the other bacteria aren't showing up, and then as well as helping to find a space where natural yeasts that might be dropping in that we don't want have to not continue to propagate too long, and then that dominant yeast that we're really looking for to show up. So that is a fairly difficult process. And then throughout that 28-day process, that temperature control is really where you delineate the higher quality Kimoto, and in style is where you get that beautiful growth of both amino acids, lactic acids, and then of course the most important yeast that turns into flavor. Kono-san, I don't know if I did a good job there or not, but I hope I satisfied that translation.
Thank you.
Fantastic. So we have one member of our group that's asked for a kampai about 17 times in the chat. So in order to satisfy our friends in Hawaii, we are going to do one more quick kampai. We'll do another one before we bail out. But if everyone would raise their glass and possibly raise a bottle if you have it, just to show that we're enjoying ourselves and having fun. We'll do one more cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, look at all those people coming on. Woo!
Aloha from San Diego. Kampai.
Los Angeles.
Love it.
Warsaw.
Wow. Okay.
All right. So right now, does anyone have any specific questions for Kono-san or Akita Toji that you would like to ask? If you do, let us know. I mean, we have covered quite a few components about the blending and the other things. We have right now, real quick, we have Michihiro is showing showing all the bottles. This is kind of cool. This is in their tasting room on the first floor when you first come in.
Yes.
That's quite beautiful.
And just a kind of a sidebar, the bricks that are
why is this? You see, something's weird with this.
A quick note about the bricks that are in the structure. It is all made from the local dirt the local clay that is in Tochigi. What I do remember of my time at Soho Homare it was so sophisticated and magnificent, really true to the standard that Soho Homare makes their sake, especially with the rice varietal that the Yamada Nishiki designation A rice that they use. It's not something that any sake brewer can come across. It is through relationships. It is through being in the know, being in this kind of secret society of sake rice growers to be able to have access to this really fantastic sake rice. So for us in the outside of Japan to be able to experience Soho Homare is truly a luxury. That's just what I wanted to share with everybody, and just seeing the smiles on everyone's faces while they're having the Soho Homare sake is really a testament to how delicious and how masterful the sake is. I love it. Thank you so much.
We had a question from Spain. Rogers joined us at approximately 4 o'clock in the morning, which is amazing that he's here and participating in this tour. He says, how do you prevent the natural yeast from growing? Is it mostly by lowering the temperature and waiting for that natural acidity to rise to purify the mash?
One more, please.
The natural, the yeast that exists in the air, right? When we're doing
yeast is not, we add a pure yeast.
Okay. But even during the beginning of the Kimoto process, there's
lactic acid bacteria is from the natural, from the environment. But yeast, we select the pure yeast to cultivate.
Okay. Another question real quick is, have you ever used Yume Sasara rice?
Wow, whose question?
That's from Mark Hunter. He's a brewer here in the United States.
Well, Yume Sasara is a very new Tochigi sake rice, and we use it a very small quantity.
Awesome, good to hear. You gotta to play with it and learn the best way to utilize it.
Yume Sasara is like it's like a 500 mangoku, a little bit softer.
Yes.
Than 500 mangoku, but Yamada Nishiki is more soft.
Kono-san, a few more quick questions. Do you brew Kimoto all year round?
Well, the fermentation season in the winter. So the season begins in, we polish the sake rice from the beginning of October. And the last filtration last season is the end of April. So about 6 months fermentation.
Cool. So traditional kind of part year. Good.
Not all year round.
Have you ever?
We do the best sake in the coldest season.
Hi, arimasu. Understood. Have you ever used any omachi rice brewing at Sohomare?
No. We use only Yamada Nishiki 500万石 and local rice.
Excellent.
So we don't use many variety of sake rice. The most important for Sohomare sake is the Yamada Nishiki sake rice.
Very good. And then,
so we focus on certain variety, not everything together.
I think that helps you to create your signature style of sake, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Is there much variation in the taste of the sake? So when you take the same sake, brewing it in the different years, the question is there a lot or any variation across the brews across the different years as they're aged to that 1, 2, 3 year point?
Okay. Well, before answering your question, I will explain you about the Sohomare Tokubetsu Kimoto. This is a blending of 3 different brewing years, batches, and also we use 3 different yeasts. And for example, if you have a boiling rate 2019 December, that is a blending of brewing year 2016, 17, and 18. And the blending of 3 different yeasts is number 6, 7, and 14-1. And when the yeast is different, the character of the sake is different. The reason why we use different batches is to make the structure of the sake. It is like blending of different batches of the champagne. They call it assemblage en français. And we have the same philosophy when we put many things to the proper ratio. It makes the sake more complicated, or it gives more deepness to the sake character. And the Kimoto sake is has a very much complexity. So I advise you to drink it like the temperature not too cold, like between 54 and 64 Fahrenheit.
Awesome.
Sometimes when you go to the restaurant, well, you can keep it cold, and you can keep the goodness of sake in the cold temperature. But when you drink it, if you drink too cold, you cannot feel anything. So maybe room temperature, like 64 or 60, you can find many good things if the sake is good.
Got it.
Okay.
If I may interject, drink it like a Montrachet, and as it starts warming up to room temperature, and as the courses of the meal start intensifying flavor, it will be in tempo with that experience. I've had these before we started. They were sitting for about 10-15 minutes, and now the true essence of the Kimoto style, the Yamanishiki, the 500 mangoku rice, is really expressing itself, which makes it danger zone for me. And that's all I have to say.
Yeah, we gotta be careful. Be careful. All right, so we have a few minutes left before we wrap up. I would just like to say a few thank yous. We'll all come back in a second, but if we can share the PowerPoint one more time. Most importantly, I want to thank everyone from Soho Homare for putting together this event, for allowing us to travel to Tochigi and spend some time with you today. Thank you very much for the wonderful tour, the wonderful tasting, the massive amount of information. This was really, really fantastic. And you are an important component of brewing and sake in general, but also the main part of this fine evening. I'd also like to thank some of our partners helped get sake out to you. So Bishak Ramen, both in San Diego and Carlsbad. High Times, Bar Ueru Kamu, Harajuku Tap Room, Silver Lake Wine, and Tsubaki, all in LA. True Sake up in San Francisco, Fujioka Wine Times, Marukai, the sake shop, and Vintage Wine Cellar in Hawaii. Murasaki and Summertime Jazz Lounge in that wonderful city of Chicago, Illinois. Sakaya in New York for providing us locals in New York with this brew. And of course, Sake Nomi out of Seattle, Washington. We appreciate you supporting us and allowing sake to be out there for all of us to enjoy and participate in this tour.